Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. No more suspense. Elon Musk will be part of Donald Trump's team. Finally, some real power for the poor guy. Apparently, owning Twitter and being the richest person on earth was not enough. So Trump has asked Elon Musk to head a new department. It's called DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. And Musk won't be alone. He will share the job with Vivek Ramaswamy. Their task? To reduce unnecessary public spending, basically to trim the US budget. A lot of people have pointed out the obvious irony here. You want to increase government efficiency, yet you appoint two people to do the same job. Sounds a bit contradictory, but that aside, what's the plan here? This DOGE department has Elon Musk's fingerprints all over it. Just look at the acronym. DOGE is also a cryptocurrency, one that is promoted by Elon Musk. He's also been speaking about wasteful government spending. We heard that in New York last month. Musk said that he could cut $2 trillion from the US budget. Listen to this.
Well, I think we could do at least $2 trillion.
Yeah!
Yes.
$2 trillion.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're being taxed. You're being taxed. All government spending is taxation. So whether it's direct taxation or all government spending, it either becomes inflation or it's direct taxation. Your money is being wasted, and the Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix that.
Now, to put that in context, total US government spending is $6.7 trillion. Elon Musk says 1/3 of that can be cut. How? By dismantling some parts of the bureaucracy, by cutting certain regulations, and by restructuring government agencies. He's done that at Twitter or X. Musk fired nearly 80% of the staff after buying this platform. 80%. He wants to do the same for the US government, but not directly, because this DOGE department is not a government agency. It will only advise the White House. Still, a lot of people are worried. They feel that Musk may cut spending on important areas like healthcare or corporate regulation or military oversight. Of course, conflict of interest is also an issue, but I think we've crossed that bridge, which brings us to Vivek Ramaswamy. His name was floated for a lot of jobs, like Secretary of State and Education Czar. Instead, he has ended up at a made-up department, sharing the bench with Elon Musk. It's a bit of a downgrade for Ramaswamy, but he does have some plans. For example, he wants to abolish the Department of Education. That's right, Ramaswamy says public schools are getting woke, so might as well abolish the department that regulates them. Elon Musk has a similar plan. Right now, the US government has 438 federal agencies. This includes the likes of the CIA, the Census Bureau, and the Civil Rights Commission. Musk says 438 federal agencies are too many. 99 should be enough. What about the rest? Should be abolished, I guess. The plan is to complete this process by July 4th, 2026. That's the 250th anniversary of US independence. Now, here's the deal. Wasteful government spending is a huge problem, not just in America, but everywhere in the world. But who should be solving that problem? A billionaire who runs two companies full-time, or someone with experience in government? That's the criticism against most of Trump's cabinet picks. He has the mandate to make changes. People have voted him in to shake things up, and he's doing exactly that. He's disrupting the system. Look at his choice for the new defense secretary, the man who will lead the Pentagon, which is basically the American Defense Ministry. His name is Pete Hegseth. And guess what he does right now? He hosts a show at Fox News. So he's a journalist. Now, to be fair, he served in the military too, in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. So he is a former soldier, but his policy experience is nil. Most defense lobbyists and experts did not even recognize his name. So even by Trump's standard, it was a surprise. But why was this man picked? Because of loyalty. He has constantly defended Donald Trump on television, so the hope is that he will keep doing that in government too. But remember, we're talking about the Pentagon here. They have a budget of more than $800 billion. They control the world's most powerful military. So ideology matters too. And what is Pete Hegseth's ideology? He supported the war in Iraq. He backed torture and waterboarding. He opposes women in combat roles. And he wants to fire so-called woke generals. You can see why he's a surprising pick. Even Republicans are not commenting on this. They simply did not expect such a wild selection, but Trump wants people who will carry out his orders, not people who will question him. Then who will temper his worst impulses? Last time, that duty fell to his daughter Ivanka Trump. She and her husband Jared Kushner worked at the White House. Kushner was in charge of Trump's West Asia policy. What about this time? Both Ivanka and Jared are staying away. So is Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr. He'll not be part of the government. He's joining a venture capital firm. But Trump's daughter-in-law could be taking a plunge. That's Lara Trump. She could replace Marco Rubio in the Senate. As we told you yesterday, Rubio will be the new Secretary of State, so someone will have to replace him in the US Senate, and that could be Lara Trump. There's also some news about the new First Lady, Melania Trump. Reports say she may not move into the White House full-time. She will attend state events and celebrations, but otherwise, she will stay away. Now, all of this makes a couple of things clear. One, we may see less of the Trump family this time, at least in government. And secondly, Trump has come with a plan. His picks may confuse experts and commentators, but his thinking seems quite clear. He does not want people slowing him down. He wants to hit the ground running. Will there be pushback in Washington? Of course there will be. But Trump is armed with a Republican Congress. In his mind, he's on a highway to make America great again. He may or may not reach his destination, but it promises to be an entertaining ride. As we speak, Donald Trump is heading to the White House. He was invited by Joe Biden last week. Remember, Trump did not extend this courtesy to Biden in 2020. But this time, Biden has invited him. It promises to be a meeting for the ages. Let's see what comes out of it. Now let's take a closer look at Elon Musk. He's perhaps the second biggest winner of the US election. Have you heard the phrase, going all in? It's when someone bets everything they have. If they lose, it's game over. But if they win, then the sky is the limit. And this is exactly what Elon Musk did. He went all in on Donald Trump. Other people were cautious. Billionaires like Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg, they did not commit. They kept their options open, but not Elon Musk. He went for the all or nothing play. He took to the stage with Donald Trump for the whole world to see.
Hi, everyone. As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA.
Musk is now being rewarded for taking such a big risk, and I'm not just talking about the new government ministry. Yes, Elon Musk will co-lead Trump's new Department of Government Efficiency. Musk will be heading DOGE. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Let's look at the other things that he's won. Starting with the money. The US election took place last Tuesday on the 5th of September. On election day, Musk was worth $264 billion, $264 billion on election day last Tuesday. Earlier today, he was worth $319 billion. So he's made $55 billion in just a week. Can you imagine? $55 billion. That's more than the annual GDP of dozens of countries. Elon Musk made that much in just 1 week, all because of his Tesla stock. Its value has gone through the roof since Trump's victory. And this is despite Tesla being an electric vehicle company and a company that manufactures vehicles in China, both things that Trump hates. Despite this, people are pumping money into Tesla because they can see what Musk did. He attended rallies, he championed Trump online, he donated about $118 million to the Trump campaign. Elon Musk put his money where his mouth was. And that's why he's getting the fat payout. That's why the Tesla stock is rising, even though Trump opposes what the company really stands for. Musk has effectively become a part of Trump's family, and I'm not exaggerating here. This is coming from the Trump clan, from Donald Trump's granddaughter, Kai Trump. She put up a video recently, a vlog about election night, and guess who's in the family photo? Elon Musk with one of his sons. He's literally in the Trump family picture. And that's not all. Kai Trump put up this photo as well. Look at the caption. It says, Elon achieving uncle status. So Musk is now considered a part of the Trump family, and Donald Trump will have his back. Of course, the Tesla stock is surging. It's effectively a Trump family business now. But Musk owns much more than just Tesla. There's SpaceX, there's X, formerly known as Twitter, and XAI. Then you have the Boring Company, the brain chip startup Neuralink. And here's the thing, a lot of these companies have ties with the US government. SpaceX alone has contracts worth more than $15 billion. Contracts from the space agency NASA and US Defense Department deals. So what happens when Trump takes charge? What stops him from putting more money into projects led by Elon Musk or removing regulation that affects Musk? It is safe to assume that Trump will back Musk to the hilt, and not just domestically. Trump is a businessman. He knows how to work out a deal with foreign countries as well. Take India, for example. We've been hearing about Tesla's entry here for years, but it hasn't materialized yet because the Indian government put restrictions in place. What if Trump puts a deal on the table, an exception for Tesla, or he slaps tariffs on India? How do you think New Delhi would react then? How would any country, for that matter, react? It isn't a stretch to say that there are good days ahead for Elon Musk, and it is not luck. Musk bet the farm on Donald Trump, and his bet worked. Now he's just beginning to reap the rewards. So Trump's victory has boosted Musk's fortunes. What about India? Will Trump's win boost the Indian economy too? It could be a mixed bag. The government is confident that it can manage the uncertainties of a Trump presidency, but the industry is anxious. India's SBI has released an assessment. That's the State Bank of India. SBI is India's biggest banker. It believes that there could be challenges ahead, that India could see a shift in the flow of FDI, or foreign direct investment. And why is that? Because of Trump's America First policy and his protectionist approach. Trump wants American companies to keep their money in America. That would mean fewer investments for India. And numbers from the past support this argument. Let's look at Trump's first term. From 2016 to 2020, how much FDI did India get in those 4 years? $11 billion. 2016 to 2020, $11 billion. Under Joe Biden, India received more than $35 billion in FDI. So FDI flows increased by over 3 times under Joe Biden. With Trump's return, this trajectory could reverse because the president-elect's views remain unchanged. He still calls India a tariff king.
The biggest charger of all is India. India is a very big charger. I mean, I think they probably charge more than, in many ways, China. But they do it with a smile, you know. They do it sort of a nicer charge. They say, oh, thank you so much for purchasing from India.
Changing Trump's mind would be a challenge for New Delhi. The stakes are high, and the impact goes beyond trade and investment. Trump's policies could impact the rupee as well. The Indian currency could depreciate more against the dollar. By how much? The SBI believes by 8 to 10%. The rupee is already near record lows. $1 is worth almost 85 Indian rupees. India's Reserve Bank has been defending the rupee. It has been selling dollars and buying rupees to stabilize the currency. In the month of October, the RBI spent more than $3 billion on this effort to prop up the rupee, $3 billion in a month. And now the central bank may have to fight harder, especially if Trump decides to start a new trade battle with India. So what options does India have? How can it insulate itself from Trump's protectionism? Thankfully, the Indian economy is not entirely dependent on the US. In recent years, India has emerged as an economic force. It has some unique strengths and it's witnessing new and positive trends. Take FDI again, for example. New sources for FDI are opening up. Earlier, India depended more on traditional sources like services, which is not the case anymore. Sectors like renewable energy, transport, medical devices, surgical appliances, they're all attracting more FDI. The SBI believes that these sectors could support India's economy. They could fill the gaps if Trump decides to target certain Indian exports. Also, his victory has not affected the broader economic forecast. Experts say India will remain on its growth trajectory. In fact, India could soon overtake Japan to become the world's fourth largest economy. Right now, India ranks 5th on this chart. Soon, it could cross Japan to be at number 4. It's only a matter of time. Different agencies have different predictions on when this could happen. Look at what the IMF or the International Monetary Fund says. It says India's economy will be bigger than Japan's as soon as next year in 2025. Another projection is from Capital Economics. They say it will happen by 2026. And S&P says it will be by 2030. So India's overall growth story remains intact. The challenge is to maintain the momentum, to maintain the same rate of growth. So India has no reason to fear this change of guard in Washington, D.C. A Trump presidency may shake up the global order. It may lead to some chaos. But if New Delhi makes the right moves, it could also open up new opportunities. India's External Affairs Minister is counting on that.
I know today a lot of countries are nervous about the US, okay? Let's be honest about it. We are not one of them. But do remember one thing. The older, the Western economies, the older industrialized economies, they have not gone away. They still count, they are still today prime investment targets. So let's recognize the shift, but let's not get carried away and kind of overstate it.
So Jaishankar is confident. He says India isn't nervous about a Trump presidency. I guess that should settle it for now. Let's turn to Canada now, where Justin Trudeau is facing a dilemma. He's picked a fight with India, he's lost an ally in Washington, and his beloved Khalistanis are showing their true colors. So what does he do? Stick to the wrong path that he's chosen, or try to course correct? We saw a strange balancing act from him last week. Trudeau tried to draw a line between Sikhs and Khalistanis, something that he's never done before. Listen to what he said.
There are many supporters of Khalistan in Canada, but they do not represent the Sikh community as a whole. There are many supporters of the Modi government in Canada, but they do not represent all Hindu Canadians as a whole.
About time he realized that, but that's not all. Canada arrested a Khalistani terrorist this week. His name is Arsh Dalla, yet another plumber from Surrey. And I'm not even kidding. That's how Canadian media described Arsh Dalla as a plumber from Surrey. Just like how they described Hardeep Singh Nijjar. So why was this plumber arrested? For a violent shooting in Ontario. Forget the Indian government at this point. Canadian plumbers should be angry with Justin Trudeau, but the story does not end here. Arsh Dalla was an associate of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Together, they raised money for the Khalistan Tiger Force, which, as you know, is a banned terrorist group. Dalla was a gangster in Punjab until 2018. Then he fled to Canada. If only someone could have warned the Trudeau government about him, then the attack in Ontario could have been prevented. Well, guess what? India did warn Canada about this man. In 2023, he was designated as a terrorist. He is wanted in India for assassinations and extortion. In March this year, Indian officials flagged his location to Canada. We told them where the man was. India told Canada his location, what crimes he had committed, and what charges he faced. Yet Canada did nothing until the same man shot someone else in Ontario. So India stands vindicated, much like last week, when peace-loving Khalistani hordes attacked a Hindu temple in Brampton. The pictures were quite scary. I'm sure most Canadians saw the scenes on social media. If you did, you may have had one question. Are we really supporting these guys? That too over the world's largest democracy. As a policy, it doesn't make sense, especially with the recent change of guard in Washington, D.C. Justin Trudeau got along with Joe Biden, but he may not with Donald Trump. History is proof of that. Trudeau was caught insulting Trump at a NATO summit in London. Trump later called him two-faced. If you think that's harsh, listen to this. Earlier this year, Trump claimed that Trudeau is the son of Fidel Castro, the longtime leader of Cuba. It's a popular conspiracy theory, but there is no proof of it, just like there is no proof against India in Niger's murder. Either way, the bottom line is this. Trump is more likely to help Wakanda than Khalistan. He hasn't spoken publicly about the issue, but some Republican supporters have. They expect Trump to crack down on the likes of Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, the leader of Sikhs for Justice. They also expect him to put pressure on Trudeau. Trump's cabinet is also anti-Khalistan. He has picked Congressman Mike Waltz to be his national security advisor. Waltz had visited India last year. Around the same time, Khalistanis attacked Indian consulates in the US. Waltz was asked about these attacks. Listen to his response.
There has been some attacks in the Indian mission in USA by Khalistani separatists.
Yeah.
What will you say on that?
Well, I have condemned, with my colleague Ro Khanna, we've condemned those attacks. Any type of violence along those lines are unacceptable, and it certainly is unacceptable on American soil.
Trump is all about the big picture. He is unlikely to risk his ties with India for a case with no evidence. But will that force Justin Trudeau to rethink as well? It certainly should. Recent attacks have exposed Khalistanis based in Canada. They've also united the Indian origin community, especially Hindu Canadians. Most of them shifted to Canada to build a new life. They have no interest in separatism. Perhaps Justin Trudeau is beginning to realize that, which would explain his recent statement to the Sikh community that Khalistanis do not represent all Sikhs. Considering the hole that he's dug for himself, a U-turn is virtually impossible, but never underestimate how shallow Trudeau's politics is. He will do anything to cling on to power. China is conducting a mega air show in the southern city of Zhuhai. A lot of aircraft, drones and naval equipment are on display, but the show has two top attractions. One is a stealth fighter jet. It is called the J-35A. It's being billed as Beijing's answer to America's F-35. The second top attraction is not even Chinese. It's a Russian Su-57 jet. It's on display at this year's air show in China. But what is a Russian jet doing there? And what does China hope to achieve with this display of military might? Our next report tells you.
This is the J-35A, a fifth-generation stealth fighter jet. It can evade radar detection. It has advanced intelligence features. It can attack at supersonic speeds. The J-35A is China's latest model of the stealth fighter jet, and clearly the biggest attraction at the Zhuhai Air Show. Tuesday was the opening of the biennial exhibition. It runs until November 17th. On display are aircraft, drones, missiles, and a vast array of other military equipment. They are produced by Chinese companies, and it's a way to showcase progress, to flaunt Chinese technology. Take the J-35A, for example. They started developing it in 2012. Since then, the model has been reworked multiple times. It is China's answer to the Lockheed Martin F-35. Both even have a similar design, and this is no mere coincidence. In 2016, a Chinese businessman got a 46-month jail sentence. It was for conspiring with Chinese-based hackers trying to steal US military secrets. The main targets were the F-22 and the F-35 fighter jets. So the similarity to the F-35 isn't just inspiration. But Beijing believes it did better. Military commentators in the country can't stop praising the J-35A. They say it can easily overpower its American counterpart. So China is confident about its air power. But that's not all that was on display. For the first time, the air show had a section dedicated to naval power. China's growing fleet of unmanned aircraft and ships. A drone vessel was showcased too. It has been dubbed Killer Whale by Chinese media. China basically wants to show that it's battle ready in case of any conflict in the South China Sea. However, one of the top attractions was not Chinese. It was this jet, Russia's Su-57. It is Moscow's most advanced stealth fighter jet, and it was here in China, even being flown by a Russian pilot. It was a big deal for both countries, which is why Putin sent one of his top men to mark the occasion. Sergei Shoigu, the head of Russia's National Security Council, attended this air show. So, Beijing is flexing its military muscle, it's showing that it is battle ready. With its vast display of military power and equipment, Russia is there as a witness and a partner. Their camaraderie is on full display, a signal of growing military ties between the two countries. But that's not all that China hopes to achieve. You see, Beijing accounts for just 5.8% of global arms exports. That's negligible, especially compared to the US, which accounts for 42%. But China is trying to bridge the gap by catering to countries in the global south. It wants to attract countries who don't trust Western weapons. Basically, China has two goals here. It wants to showcase its military might, in line with Xi Jinping's goal of creating world-class armed forces by 2050. But it also aims to turn into a global exporter of weapons. It's trying to market its weapons and appeal to countries to ditch Western weapons for their Chinese counterparts. This Zhuhai air show is the perfect opportunity of killing two birds with one stone.
Now let's shift our focus to West Asia. The war in Gaza and Lebanon is still in full swing. Israel is attacking both regions and says it is making progress. Their focus is on Lebanon. Israel launched fresh airstrikes today on the capital Beirut. They targeted the suburbs in southern Beirut, leaving a trail of destruction. Israel says the area is a hotbed of Hezbollah activity. That's the Iran-backed group Hezbollah. They struck back today. Hezbollah fired a range of a barrage of rockets really at northern Israel, at least 20 of them. Most of the rockets were intercepted, but at least one broke through the Israeli defenses and hit a house in a northern Israeli town. By the looks of it, there's no end to this war, no end in sight, not even a ceasefire, despite the US trying to push one through. The US Special Envoy for Lebanon insisted, and I'm quoting, that there is a shot, a chance for a ceasefire deal soon. But today's strikes seem to say otherwise. Meanwhile, the US has its own problems, not just at home, but in West Asia as well.
The Yemeni Houthi Armed Forces Missile Force and Air Force carried out two military operations. The first targeted the American aircraft carrier Abraham in the Arabian Sea using several cruise missiles and drones during American enemy preparations for hostile operations targeting our country. The second operation targeted two American destroyers in the Red Sea using several ballistic missiles and drones and achieved its objectives successfully.
Yes, the Yemen-based Houthis are at it again. They say they're attacking American ships in both the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea. The Pentagon confirmed a part of this. They said that one attack was thwarted, but denied that the other even happened. They said they did not know of any Houthi strike on their aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln. Either way, this means one thing. The Houthis are acting up again. They had been relatively quiet for a while. They last attacked a ship on the 28th of October, but it seems they're active again after a 2-week pause. Were they waiting for the US election to conclude? Or is there another reason behind their return? Perhaps the group received a shot in the arm, some new hope, because of a recent conference in Saudi Arabia.
The kingdom renews its call for and categorical rejection of the genocide committed by Israel against the brotherly Palestinian people, which has claimed the lives of more than 150,000 martyrs, wounded and missing, most of whom are women and children.
That was the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, also known as MBS. MBS is not holding back anymore. He publicly called Israel's actions in Gaza a genocide. It's some of the harshest criticism of Israel by Saudi Arabia so far. Riyadh has been relatively quiet since the Gaza war began. Before it started, they were working towards normalizing ties with Israel. So maybe they did not want to say too much in case the war ended and talks resumed. But it seems that normalization is a pipe dream now. The war is still raging. There is no end in sight, not even a ceasefire. And Donald Trump is about to return as the US president. He is expected to give Netanyahu free rein. MBS cannot have that, which is why he is being more vocal, more direct, and he did not stop there. MBS also publicly backed Iran.
We call on the international community to assume its responsibilities to preserve international peace and security by immediately halting the Israeli attacks on the brothers in Palestine and Lebanon, and by obligating Israel to respect the sovereignty of the sisterly Islamic Republic of Iran by not attacking its territories.
The Saudi Crown Prince is calling for peace. He wants all attacks to stop, even Israeli attacks on Iran, Saudi Arabia's old nemesis. It would have been unthinkable a few years ago, but it shows how unstable West Asia is right now. Saudi Arabia's backing may galvanize support for the Palestinians. It could breathe new life into the anti-Israeli factions, but maybe it could also force the world to act and bring about an end to the war. We'll be tracking this one for you. Now let's turn our attention to Spain, where a top cop has been arrested. His name is Oscar Sanchez. Until recently, he was the head of fraud in the police force. Now he is being held for fraud. Yes, the irony is not lost on us. A sum of $21 million was found hidden in his house, not behind lock and key. Apparently, that's too basic. Sanchez kept his cash sandwiched in the walls and ceilings of his house. You have to see it to believe it. But where did a cop get all this money from? And is it common for criminals to hide money inside walls? Our next report tells you.
This is Oscar Sanchez, one of Spain's top cops. Until recently, he was the head of the Fraud and Anti-Money Laundering Division. And now, he has been arrested, ironically, in a fraud case along with his wife, who's also a police officer. They are both in custody because it was discovered that the couple was living in a house of cash. $21 million was found hidden in their house, which is located in Alcalá de Henares, 30 kilometers east of Madrid. The cash was sandwiched in walls and ceilings. $8 million were found in a single room. Another $1 million was in Sanchez's office, stashed inside cupboards. But how does a police officer have this kind of money? Authorities found all this cash during a raid as part of an investigation into a cocaine bust earlier this month. You see, Spain is a hub of drug trafficking. It's the main entry point for drugs making their way into Europe from major cocaine producers in Latin America like Colombia and Peru, as well as Morocco, a top cannabis producer. So drug seizures are fairly common in Spain. But this particular cocaine bust is the country's largest ever. It's the second largest for Europe, and that says something. More than 13 tons of cocaine was seized. It was hidden in a cargo of bananas shipped from Ecuador. The interception has led to a spate of arrests in Spain. So far, 16 people, including Sanchez and his wife, have been arrested. The couple has been charged with drug trafficking, money laundering, corruption, and membership of a criminal organization. It is suspected that Sanchez was working with drug traffickers for about 5 years, allegedly providing them information, helping them with surveillance of the drugs, and enabling them to avoid checks. So the millions found in his house are drug proceeds. Sanchez allegedly laundered the funds via cryptocurrency. He even acquired a fleet of swanky vehicles through a relative. But on the outside, his lifestyle was not ostentatious. Though, thanks to his antics, Sanchez has been compared to the infamous drug lord Pablo Escobar, who hid $18 million in the walls of his mansion. But these are not the only instances where people have hid money in their homes to avoid capture. In 2015, a municipal engineer in the Indian state of West Bengal was raided. police stumbled upon cash worth $31 million hidden in the walls of his 6-room, 2-story house. But sometimes it isn't the police who find the hidden treasure. In 2022, builders in the United States found $500,000 inside the walls of a house they were renovating. But they didn't get to keep the money. It went to the heirs of the man who previously owned the home and hid the cash. Last year, a man in Spain found about $60,000, again hidden in the walls of a home he was renovating. Unfortunately, his joy was short-lived. The cash was in Spanish pesetas, a currency which ceased to be legal tender in 2002 when the euro was adopted as the Spanish currency. Clearly, one way or another, it's rare for good news to follow money hidden in walls.
Ministry of Sex. You heard that right. Russia wants such a ministry to fix its falling birth rate. It has an aging population, low birth rates and rising mortality. So the Kremlin wants people to have more babies and have them fast. And they floated some brilliant ideas to make it happen. A new ministry is only the beginning. They want couples to turn off the internet and lights by 10 p.m. and get to work. They want to pay a pension to mothers who stay at home and not go to office. They want to cover hotel expenses for your wedding night and pay bills for your first date. Now, first dates are scary enough without the government involved, but Russia wants to do all of this and more because President Vladimir Putin has high expectations. He wants women to have 8 children or more. That's going to take some work from couples and apparently the Kremlin, which has passed a new bill this week banning child-free lifestyles. It outlaws any form of so-called propaganda which promotes the refusal to have children. This includes material on the internet, in media outlets, in movies, in advertisements. Basically anything that promotes a lifestyle without children is banned. Violators will be subjected to fines, about $4,000 for individuals and $50,000 for legal entities. Now, if you know Russia even a little bit, you know that they're acting out. Much like with human beings, when countries act out, it is usually out of fear. And Russia is very scared. Over the past decade, they have seen a continuous demographic decline. Russia is home to some 145 million people. That's smaller than their population in 1991 when the USSR broke up, when the Soviet Union collapsed. And this year, it is expected to shrink further by 500,000. This poses a threat to the country's economy and social fabric, so the Kremlin is throwing money and bizarre sexual ideas at the problem. It also reflects broader demographic trends the world over. Our planet is slowly but surely walking towards a baby bust, a global population crash. Fertility rate, or the number of births per woman, is falling across most countries. In 2017, the global fertility rate stood at 2.5. By 2021, it was down to 2.3 and now it is 2.1. What is the ideal rate? 2.2. So we are below the ideal rate. 2.2 is also called the replacement rate, the rate of births per woman, which keeps the population stable. The world average is lower than that. So the number of births is falling. What are countries doing about it? They've already curbed women's rights in more ways than one. They have failed to ensure the safety of women. They have judged and controlled women's bodies. They have certainly not made it easy to have or raise children. And now they're cajoling women like they are children so that they can have more children. This is what most countries do. They first try to bribe women, like South Korea did. It has the lowest fertility rate in the world at 0.72. Since the year 2006, South Korea has spent more than $270 billion. Last year, Japan pledged $74 billion and Taiwan has spent more than $3 billion. Most of this money is for payments or tax benefits to new mothers. But the cold hard cash has not delivered. So governments try step 2, sweet talk. Singapore, for instance, has among the lowest fertility rates in the world. This is the year of the dragon. So during the Lunar New Year, they urge people to add, and I'm quoting, little dragons to their family. In other words, have children and have them this year. That was a message. It is a crass message coated in honey. But often even that doesn't work. Then leaders resort to what they do best. They call women names, like villainizing what they call childless cat ladies in the US. or making strange demands, like in Japan, where they want women who don't have children to remove their uterus at 30. Meanwhile, France wants compulsory fertility testing for women aged 25. Bizarre is a small word to describe what is happening here. This borders on dystopian. Governments are so used to having a say over women's bodies, they don't want to accept that in certain things, nature plays a role. And do you know the worst part? None of these tactics work. Decades of research proves this. People will not have children because you push them to. They will not have more children if you entice them with payment or fertility tests or bans on so-called child-free propaganda, and certainly not with public shaming. So what should governments do? Well, create conducive environments, implement policies that help mothers, provide better housing, generous maternity leave, cheaper childcare, and more jobs, so people can build the lives they want while also having children. About time governments get their act together, do their research, and stop acting like nosy neighbors pushing women to have children. Have you heard of exaggerated marketing? It's usually a legal advertising technique. Products use exaggeration and hyperbole to promote, companies use this to promote their products. The claims are so ridiculous, customers never believe them. Lindt is using this as its new crutch. In 2022, lead and other toxic metals were found in chocolate bars, including those sold by Lindt. In 2023, there was a class action lawsuit against the company challenging its claims of excellence. And now Lindt says that's puffery. It says those excellence claims are exaggerated. The defense may save them some legal drama, but it will also damage their reputation. Here's our report.
Excellence. Expertly crafted with the finest ingredients. These are words long associated with Lindt chocolates. They are printed on their packaging, they are on the ads. So you would imagine these are the principles the top Swiss chocolatier abides by. But Lindt's lawyers disagree. They say these words are just puffery. Basically, exaggerated marketing, something a buyer would never rely on. What brought about this claim? Well, it started with a 2022 report. It was by the US consumer organization Consumer Reports. The report was on levels of lead and cadmium in dark chocolate bars. They tested 28 bars sold in the United States. 8 of them had a high level of cadmium, which is a toxic metal. One of them was a Lindt chocolate bar. 10 chocolate bars also had a high level of lead. 2 of Lindt's bars were classified among the safer choices among them. This led to consumers filing a class action lawsuit in 2023. It was by consumers in the states of Alabama, California, Florida, Illinois, Nevada, and New York. They accused Lindt of having violated the labeling rules in force in their states. The customers claimed they had paid premium prices for Lindt. Why? Because they believed they were purchasing quality and safe dark chocolate. So Lindt's lawyers trotted out the time-honored legal shield of puffery. They argued that the words on the packaging is just puffery. It's to bluster and boast. They didn't think any reasonable buyer would rely on it. It's clearly a bid to dodge the US lawsuit. But the Swiss chocolatier seems to have harmed its own excellence claims in the process. You see, Switzerland is known for its chocolates. Swiss chocolatiers often boast about the quality of their products, and they are usually more expensive for this superior quality. So, by dismantling it in their defense, Lindt is walking a tightrope according to Swiss newspapers. Now, the company has issued a clarification. It says the puffery argument was merely a legal response. It wasn't an admission of inferior quality products. In fact, the company stands by its claims of excellence and products expertly crafted with the finest ingredients.
That argument was used to clarify that an advertising challenge by plaintiffs is not sufficiently objective to support the specific false advertising claim being made.
More legal jargon there for you, but let's cut to the center of this marketing fiasco. Lindt just happened to be the one that got caught with its fingers in the candy jar, and it used a daring defense. But the idea of false marketing isn't a new one. Corporations and companies do it all the time. Lindt may have exposed itself in a bid to protect its company, but it's sure to leave a bitter aftertaste.
We've been telling you about North Korean soldiers deployed to Russia. More than 10,000 of them have reached Kursk. They will soon join the war against Ukraine. Just one problem, though. These soldiers are distracted. They have discovered something new in Russia: the internet, specifically pornography on the internet. You see, most North Koreans do not have access to the internet. Even when they do, most things are restricted. You can only see state-run websites. But in Russia, there are fewer restrictions. So reports say the North Korean soldiers are addicted to porn. They're supposed to recapture Russian land, but right now, all they're capturing is the Wi-Fi signal. Take a look. On the show today, the T20 World Cup bandwagon has moved across to the West Indies. What can we expect from this?
Hello, I'm Alice Green, coming to you from Durban, South Africa. Today we have a special show.
We start with a report on India's shifting nuclear posture. The first time since India officially became a nuclear power.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Ham, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. Flights are cancelled to Indonesia's Bali after a volcano spews dangerous ash clouds into the air. Angry protesters in Serbia throw eggs at lithium mining company's Belgrade headquarters. And London's Kew Garden switches on the lights for the festive season. Finally, we're taking you back in history on this day in 1970. Hafiz al-Assad seized power in Syria in a bloodless military coup. He replaced his political mentor as Syria's leader. His son, Bashar al-Assad, is the current president of Syria. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Alba.